Paranormal Busters.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome everybody to another night of REP Paranormal and Friends. Tonight we do have a special guest. We have Sean Austin from Chopper Channel's GhostLoop, so welcome.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, before we start though, I want to wish Kim, who's here with me right now, a very happy birthday. So if everybody could just let her know in chat, give her a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Kim.
Thank you. She probably thought I forgot, but I didn't. All right, so let's get into it. So a little bit about yourself here. You're a paranormal investigator, psychic medium, and you also have dabbled in a little bit of demonology. Is that correct?
Yes, I've been a paranormal investigator for about 11 years now. I was mentored by Ralph Sarchi, so now I would be considered a religious demonologist with discernment, with medium abilities, with, the investigative, methods of the typical paranormal investigating. So that's my approach when it comes to, different types of hauntings and ultimately, genuinely demonic in nature, obviously depending on the nature of the case.
Very nice, very nice. So what got you interested in the paranormal?
Well, I grew up as a child, I was a horror movie buff. I was reading Stephen King books in 4th grade. I know, pretty sick.
Oh, that's actually pretty normal for me, too.
Yeah. And, I loved all scary movies. It's so funny and ironic, too, and I wrote about it a little bit in my first book, Shadow Chaser. I would laugh at all these other horror movies, but the only movie that would give me recurring nightmares was The Exorcist, go figure. And I would just always see, her in her nightgown with vomit all over herself, standing at the corner of my bed, and I would just be absolutely mortified and horrified. Funny enough, actually, one of the priests from the movie was one of the teachers at my school in Porter Prep, too. He was the best friend of Damien, who actually, caught him at the bottom of the stairs. He's a real Jesuit priest, actually. He was also an actor. So when I got into my 20s, they started coming out with, the series of A Haunting, which started off with A Haunting in Connecticut and, spurred off many years of that show. And I was watching shows even from the 90s, too, like Unsolved Mysteries and Sightings. And when A Haunting came out, I really enjoyed all the haunting-type stories, all the experiences that people were going through when it comes to what was going on in their home and the people that would go in and try to help them and the evidence. And I really just felt a connection to what people were going through. I really believed in them. Right. I wondered about it, but I never thought in my mind, why don't I just go out and search for it? It just didn't even cross my mind. But at some point in my later 20s, a buddy of mine, we were both waitering at a restaurant, and he's a really big skeptic, and I wanted him to have an experience because I believed in it. And I took him to a local cemetery that had a local lore of 3 women in the white that would chase you out. And in the process of him coming there with me that night, instead of that, while he's laughing the entire night, I'm in front of a little girl's grave. Her name was Jenny. And, I recorded with my flip phone right before we had smartphones. And I asked, Jenny, are you still here? And, I thought I heard something in my own ears, but not until the next night when I listened back to a couple of the recordings from my phone. I was that defining moment for me, my trigger moment, I would call it, when the little girl, a child, responded to me and said, my 2 toys died in a child's voice. It was creepy as hell, but it exhilarated me. That was realizing that this stuff was real. And I had a buddy of mine that was willing to go out and just, hit up local cemeteries and try to get EVPs and things like that, just to, figure out if we could get more answers, figure out different questions, specific questions to get specific answers. And, things like, what was the president that was in office when you died? We'd get back President Carter, President Kennedy, or what year would you die? I'd say 1952, like all these different crazy things. And actually, about 2 to 3 weeks after I initially got that EVP of that little girl in my old apartment, it was light out. It wasn't even dark. And I woke up in my bed, and I saw a shadow of a little girl, and I yelled out like a dying seal, and it disappeared. Through this whole process, things happened to me very quickly. Within the first year of investigating, I just felt like I skipped so much. So many things started to happen to me so quickly, as if I was investigating the paranormal for many years. I started having premonitions and feeling things, seeing things, hearing things. And, I was just doing backstrokes in it. I was reading books. And the first book I ever read was, The Demonologist by Ed Lorraine Warren. And then reading a bunch of books and leading up to meeting Ralph Sarchi, who was my mentor about demonology, which was, the movie Deliver Us from Evil was based on his book, Beware the Night. And then leading me to, I had my own podcast as well, and I was bringing a bunch of people on. It's always great to learn from other people that have gone through experiences like yourself when it comes to the paranormal. We can all learn something from each other as a whole. And it was, very informative for myself in that journey. And then I ended up going on cases with Ralph, going on the Demon Files, the pilot series on Destination America. And then after that, I continued, just my experiences, traveling around the country with other investigators and leading me to publish my first book, Shadow Chaser. And here I am, just did another show on Travel Channel, and I'm working on my second book.
Oh, wow. Awesome. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about GhostLoop. I have to say that my 2 favorite episodes was actually, the very last one was amazing, for one.
Yeah.
It, really, I was just I felt so bad for that family.
And that's my forte, to deal with these types of things, because, that's how I've been taught. If we find legitimate, genuine demonic infestation going on in the home, that's what we have to do, an exorcism on the house. And that's what we did on that episode. And even, what are the chances of, the young boy and one of our teammates having the same day they tried to take their life? And the demonic knew that. The demonic knew that this whole scenario was going to take place. There's no conception of time and spirit realm. Past, present, future are all the same thing. And, the message that I got in my hotel room, the whole phone message, and actually the whole thing didn't make it on the show. It's actually longer than that. It says Caliph isn't innocent, he's going to die. It says the demon name, and then it says it won't help it. And then you hear a woman go, "You have a demon." And then you hear a man say, "It's an actual exorcism," all on my phone message that I got in my hotel room, thinking that it was just a scam or something. It was the day of, while we were on that case. What are the chances of that? These are all the telltale signs to me that it was demonic was straight up there. They didn't make it on the cut in the show, but we were driving to the house initially, and I smelled sulfur in the car, and I'm like, I hope this is not an introduction of what we're going to be dealing with on this case. And it definitely was. It was serious.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that whole thing was pretty intense watching that. I was just like, oh my gosh, I felt so bad. But, I was glad that, somebody was able to actually help this family, and hopefully, that they're doing a lot better. But
they are, actually. I just spoke to her, and, they considered some small miracles really taking place in that home. Ever since we were there, the young son, I believe he's going, taking classes with his mother, just self-help and stuff like that, or something of the sort. And they seem to be doing a lot better. So obviously that's what we want to hear after you go to places. Because it's not like we can just go in, with spiritual cleaning equipment and say, all right, this is great. It's dependent on the lifestyles of the individuals or the families after you leave, what they do, because they can let these things come right back in. And these things know whether or not they're going to be able to come back in, and they're going to be waiting for a crack in their aura, or over the location or the individual to seek a doorway right back in to cause the chaos for the family, ultimately what they want to do.
Right, exactly. 100%. Sorry, I have to sneeze real quick. Sorry. Whew. My allergies are kicking in a little bit. Another one. I had a question, though, because I see you carrying around, it doesn't always look like you're using, like, the actual spirit box, but you use something it looks like on a tablet or something. Is it like, is it called Phasma box? Or Phasma?
Yes.
Or something?
So, yeah, it's called the Phasma box,
yes.
and it only works on Windows applications.
Okay.
So, so I use it on a Windows tablet.
Mm-hmm. And
so, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, the responses that we get on this thing are just amazing. And it's just another method. I know a lot of different people use different types of ghost boxes and spirit boxes and things like that. Mm-hmm. Spirits can manipulate anything that's electrical, and they can use them as a way to communicate with us. And I'll use anything that gets results for me, and I'll try out and test out and experiment with anything.
Yeah, we've tested out some different ones, some like different apps and things, just to see what we get. But yeah, I think it was pretty interesting because I did see that on an episode. I'm like, I have to check that out, but I have to get a tablet for it.
I mean, you can practice with it and use it on a laptop if it's Windows and it still works.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously, to use a tablet, you're able to be versatile and walk around and get to places. I'll put it in my pocket or just be able to hold it in my hands, which is works out conveniently while investigating, especially if you got big property or area to investigate.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is your favorite device that you like to use?
Well, I mean, I really do like the Spirit Box and the Phasma Box because I love the straight up communication. We're getting definitive answers right away. That's really what's the most important thing. It's really just feeling, hearing, and seeing. So obviously I love the SLS cam. It's an amazing piece of equipment. We get astonishing stuff with it. But also just the straight up equipment that speaks to it. Now, I know the Spirit Box can be really annoying with the white noise, but for me, there's something about that device that actually spikes the activity. I don't know what it is, but even when I'm holding the Spirit Box, there's something about it when the spirits project themselves through the device. Mm-hmm. If I'm holding the device, I can actually, tap into the energy of the spirit while it's going through, and it's strange, like my body reacts to it because, I mean, that's really what they're doing is they're going through the device and projecting outwards through, the frequencies of the white noise. But there's something about that. And that's actually why, I leave the Spirit Box on when I try to attempt to cross over any spirits. And because I think it's really interesting and something that I've been doing live on my Periscope for years, to have some sort of validation of what's occurring. So if I'm praying for a spirit, I'm doing a visualization of white light to come down and praying for these spirits' loved ones to come with the angels to find the peace and have the encouragement to do so, to have some sort of confirmation with the words coming through while this is going on, backs up any feelings that I may have. So, if somebody's watching, it'd be like, okay, we have more of a feeling that this really just took place. And I was really excited to be able to bring that element on the show and have that happen a handful of times when we did try to cross over the spirit.
Yeah, I never thought of that. Like, I mean, I guess I've never really seen anybody yet try to cross anybody over, but I think that's a good point to do, though. So that way, if you have something running and you're getting something that's more validation to what you're doing. So that is a very good idea.
Yeah.
Another episode that I kind of wanted to touch base on is the one, I can't remember the name of it right now, but you guys were outside and you had the little children's voices. And
the Gold Diggers episode?
I want to say there was that's another interesting one though, because with the wife, who was kind of the one that seemed kind of like she was the instigator of everything.
Wait, I think you're thinking of a different one. That one's, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the moonshine one, right?
It's the one where I thought it was a husband and wife, and they had, the first one was like the kids, like you guys were outside, and I thought you found maybe a little grave, and then you heard the children's voices. The other one.
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Cradle to the Grave and the stillborn burial
Yes, that's the one I was talking to about. First of all, yeah.
Yeah, that was. Now was using the Phasma box there. You heard, like it said, that was my son.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, shock. I mean, considering where we were standing, and that disembodied voice of the baby that I heard with my own ears, and they caught it on the camera.
Yeah.
I was shocked with that because, sometimes you hear things with your own ears,
right,
and it might not come on the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know. And I was, right after that happened, I was yelling at the camera guys, I hope that your cameras picked that up because, Eric and I were just sitting there with our equipment, and, I told him I just heard that, and yeah, that was pretty astonishing.
Yeah, that was absolutely insane. I'm like, oh my gosh, did I just hear what I heard? Like, that was nuts. And then you found that little, grave site, and I was just like, oh my gosh, that was just, that was another one of my favorites, honestly. But, but the other one was, it was a husband and wife, and I thought somebody came to stay with them, and they wanted to find his gold.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the Gold Diggers one. Yeah.
And then, and then there was that little boy there also.
Yes, the little boy was like almost like our sixth investigator. He's kind of leading us around.
Right.
There was nothing bad there. It was just more of like, this is what happens when you go to a lot of these places. There's confusion. These human spirits, they may have not been good people in life, and they're just kind of reliving these moments. They're consumed with it and just being stuck. Their consciousness of energy, keeps them at a lower vibrational rate where they trap themselves. They're scared of judgment, and they're just concentrating on what took place when they were alive in the physical plane.
Excuse me. Oh. How did you guys come up with the name for the show?
Well, it was a concept by the production company.
Uh-huh.
And then, they obviously put us together. Eric and I been investigating together for about 2.5 years. And then actually Kristen had actually investigated with us once or twice. And then they found Matt and Caliph and then brought us together.
Oh, wow. Very nice. Very nice. Have you guys heard if there's going to be a season 2?
There is no word about that. I have no idea, but I mean... It's TV land. Who the heck knows?
I know.
I'm just trying to, whether it's on TV or not, I do my thing. This is my passion. I don't, it's the most important thing for me is that being a part of that project that I wanted to be a part of it is that you have the chance to reach families that you'd never be able to reach to on a wider scale because we don't charge for this sort of thing. And if you have the backing to do so and reach families, have the opportunity to help them and bring spiritual awareness to some level, that's definitely worth it to me because I want to be able to help people or souls I come in contact with, no matter what the case. So I want to have at least that involved with whatever I'm doing in the paranormal.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Sorry, my allergies are really bothering me today. I don't know why, but they are.
That time of the year.
I know. Everything's going to be in bloom soon, and all hell will break loose. All right, so another thing, though, this is a little off topic from the show, but your periscopes here lately, your live feeds on Twitter is pretty interesting for people who have been following what you've been doing lately. You've been kind of on this chase to figure out where this Jennifer, right?
Yeah. So a buddy of mine, he had actually reminded me about the case. I remember hearing something about it, but I mean, over the last, we were traveling for 2 months and I came back and, I never really just thought about it again. And he reminded me, he's like, why don't you just pull up to the house where she lived, where she disappeared from and see what you get. And I drove up to the house in New Canaan, Connecticut and just sat in my car. And I just could not believe, the response that I got in my car. They were all referencing, the murder case and her and what happened to her. I even heard psychically in my head, I never dreamed of being murdered. And there was an actually EVP of her saying it right before I heard it. And I play it a few times on the YouTube clip. And there were all these bunch of trigger words that came through. So me talking to my buddy, Jared, he had actually, written down all the trigger words that have come through. Mm-hmm. And we were thinking about to take it to the next level and maybe going up to Farmington, Connecticut, because it was leading us in that direction from a lot of the stuff it said. So we had planned on it. And actually, I was at a haunted cemetery this past last weekend, a week ago. Out of nowhere, I was live streaming on Periscope. All of a sudden, references are coming through having to do with the case again, constantly. And it seems like this guy, the husband who just killed himself like a month ago, is still angry, and he's trying to warn me from like snooping around and looking around. And we were to go on Tuesday, and the night before, I had a vision of this husband yelling at me, saying, "How dare you? It's an insult." Saying, is telling me to step off, like not wanting to have us go. And we went to Farmington, Connecticut on Tuesday, and we were guided to even possibly find a woman's shoe. And we went to this one area that where one of the trigger words led us, and there was a woman's shoe in, but next to a river. And there happened to be a cop car. I was live streaming, and we let the cops know what took place, and they called the state police, and then they called, the family, to find out if she wore that type of shoe. They said that they didn't think that she wore that type of shoe, but that's what happens. I mean, if you find anything, you got to report it just in case.
Right.
But there's something strange about that area. I mean, as soon as we got there, I turned on the spirit box. It said Jen, and I actually played it for the officer, and he had chills to the bone after playing it. It's so clear. Yeah, I mean, it's astonishing. And I just posted another video of him coming through saying, "Warning you," and then I'm like, "Warning us about what?" And then a female voice says, "Won't stop looking," like the female saying he's warning you because you're not stopping to look for her body because he's still raging. I couldn't believe it. I still have to go through more video for while we're there, and we plan to go back and search more. And I think that should be something, a unique perspective more people should do to approach unsolved murder cases from a paranormal perspective, because if people die tragically, that's a good chance of a recipe of a ghost. And, a lot of these spirits will stick around because they want justice for their death. They died tragically. They feel like they were robbed of their life. And it's an opportunity to acknowledge them, respect them, and ultimately try to help them. We can bring spiritual awareness by bringing evidence of what's taking place and show that we can actually bring, a conclusion to a case from that perspective, but also helping the spirit ultimately and the family that's wanting, closure for whatever they're going through, so tragically.
It's just insane. I mean, I've seen clips of it. You guys were out driving yesterday, and you had a map of like all the areas where you've had like hits, like with like some kind of information that somebody has given to you, or you've gotten on your box.
So yeah, basically it was all the trigger words that said through on my scopes while I was in front of the house. And what I let them know that I remembered offhand from just on when I was at the cemetery. I just went through all of it. I just couldn't believe the stuff that was coming through. And I also had a couple of visions. So he was looking up the trigger words, and he'd go on a Google Earth, and he was mapping out all the points of all these words. And it seems to circle this one area by the Farmington River in Farmington. And we found out that, these are all places that the cops have searched before. So it seems like it's leading us in some direction. Now, if the husband is pissed off and raged still, if that's really true, which I do believe, then he's not wanting us to go any further, because I feel like we might find something.
Yeah.
Whether it be a clue leading someone in the right direction or something more solidified than that, I don't know. But I mean, again, we're trying to help out, bringing conclusion to something that, is really tragic. And she's a mother of 5 children, and it's really horrible that her body hasn't been found. So I mean, that's all we can do is have the intent to try and help with that. And it seems like clues and things are leading us in a direction. So I think we have to keep exploring that.
Yeah. Do you think he knows a little bit more, like the husband, than? I mean, he's dead. So I mean, he killed himself probably because he didn't want to be in prison, because they found her DNA in a truck that he borrowed that day, and there was no explanation for it. I think they had enough circumstantial evidence that he was going to be fried. And I think he just wanted to take his life because he knew he was screwed. And then he left a note saying, "I'm still innocent." So I don't know. I mean, the level of
narcissistic behavior with this guy, even death. Seems like he just doesn't want anyone to think that he did that. Maybe he doesn't want his kids to think that he did it, or just it's almost as if, he's just obsessed with it still. And all the evidence, the responses that are coming through, it's all confirming that through our paranormal investigation of what's going on and the place we're going, because this guy's pissed off and he's warning us, and all this shit's just coming through, and it's insane. It's just really shocking.
Yeah, because I mean, just when you were talking about it, I'm like, he sounds like he's kind of guilty.
Yeah.
And doesn't want you guys to find out the truth, but yeah, that's just insane. Well, hopefully you guys find something. I mean, I'm sure you guys are going to continue on with this.
Yeah, I think we're going to go back possibly this weekend or next week. I mean, I just wish, the winter be over, because, I mean, if this is warm weather, I'd be, like, up there, like, camping out. I mean,
right.
When things come to me, I randomly went there in front of the house, but when things start to follow me, when I'm not even thinking about it, or if I'm in another haunted location, things are coming through, then that makes me want to even explore and go down that road further, because there has to be a reason for it. And that's why, like, I'm feeling drawn to do more and get involved with what we were doing to the next level. And that's what we're doing.
And I think that's awesome, because, I mean, she needs to have her story told. She needs to be found so she can be at peace.
100%. And that's why, we got to respect these spirits. They were all human just like us. We're all brothers and sisters. We come from the same source of light, and that's God. And, we really need to show that respect when we go to these haunted locations. And that's why I wanted to, again, show that element on the show GhostLoop, is that, just because we don't understand what's happening, I mean, we fear the unknown. So when things happen in people's houses, it's very easy to assume it's something scary or demonic, like Hollywood, and everything's demonic and scary. It's not always the case. It's mostly usually human spirits that are misunderstood, and they're desperate and striving for acknowledgement, trying to have their story be told, or to have the interaction to make them feel like they're alive still in the physical plane, because they haven't let go of the human life they once lived. So, that's where, the investigative methods coming through and figuring out what that is, so we can, figure out if they're willing to listen to us, and try to cross them over to find a path towards peace or forgiveness if they're a bad person in life, or if there's something truly malevolent and not willing to listen, then we have to displace it and do our best to force it off the property or location.
Right. Excuse me. All right. Excuse me. Goodness. We do have some questions here from chat before I get too far behind on them. They're coming in like crazy here. First question is, what do you fear the most of the paranormal?
Gosh, I mean, well, my opinion is I don't fear anything in the paranormal, because if I fear anything, that undermines God's protection for me. And that means that these evil spirits will pick up on that, and they will use it against me. So if you truly believe in the notion that God is more powerful than any evil spirit, then you will not be frightened by any of these things that come towards you. I've been visited. I've been attacked by so many different creatures and red-eyed horn things like you couldn't even imagine. I mean, like I get startled, and obviously they come to you when you're sleeping, when you're most vulnerable, so I can get startled. But when I get up, I mean, I bless my place. I say, in the name of Jesus Christ, I revoke your permission to be here. Get out of here. That's all they pretty much do. I mean, I've been oppressed by an evil spirit. I've been in that dark place psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually, where something can actually influence you from a third-person perspective. So I recognize that, and I know that they'll try and do that. And things have tried again, and I immediately recognize it, and I bless myself immediately and revoke its permission to do so. So, it's made my faith stronger, and they know that, and that's why they hate me so much. And especially when you step in the way of evil. If you step in the way of evil, you make yourself an adversary to the enemy of man, and that's the devil. And when you do that, you got to be prepared for that. It's kind of like the Matrix. You want the blue pill or the red pill? Yeah. Because for the rest of your life, you're going to be a target for the rest of your life. And it's a calling to be involved with this sort of thing and step in the way of, go up against evil. And you'll feel that. You'll feel that urge. And I think that you got to trust your instincts if you're truly meant to be involved with this stuff. It shouldn't be, like an amusement park, because that's where it can really lead to danger. Because then you're involving yourself for the sake of entertainment, and spirits can manipulate that and turn your intent into something where they can manipulate you into a dark place and attack you and use you as a puppet spiritually.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see here. Okay, so we got another one here. If you had the opportunity to build a device for your investigations, what would it be and why?
Well, I actually put a patent out about 6 years ago for an idea that I had that I wanted to put together to try to a device that I'd love to try and experiment and use that would be something like an Ovilus, but something from a different approach and push it to the next level. I would love to have an engineer that'd be willing to, experiment with stuff, with ideas that I have to push the envelope and help innovate, ITC and the communication, potential that we can have as investigators in the paranormal community and going on cases. Obviously, like with the show, I mean, being able to have a trigger environment, I've never seen anybody do something like that. I mean, we have trigger items that we've done. I mean, dolls and dog stuffed animals and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty unique in itself. It's pretty interesting to see how spirits react with things like that. But I don't know. I mean, I love experimenting with devices and things. Like, I would love to use anything that we could use to aid in the help of finding out answers with whatever we're trying to do when it comes to research or helping families. So, I mean, there's loads of things that you can do.
Oh, yeah. It's endless, actually. I mean, if you think about it, it's just like endless of different things that you could try or do. You never know what's really going to work until you try it.
That's right.
Okay, man, we have a lot of questions here. Okay, so what has been your favorite case at the present time?
My favorite case. Well, what do you mean define favorite? Like, the craziest case? Like,
however
or
you want to interpret it. It just came from chat, so I'm assuming that whatever your favorite, like something like that was most memorable or something that was crazy, however you want to interpret it.
Gosh. Well, I'm writing in my second book about two really just creepy, unsettling, nuts stuff that I went through. And one of the stories has to do with a girl who was pregnant while she was possessed.
Oh,
and
wow.
I tried to help her, and I went through this whole thing of what was going on with her. And I have recordings of her speaking Latin and English backwards. I have, I'd hear her getting choked on the phone. I'd hear laughing through the phone, and I'd say a prayer for her. And then all of a sudden I felt burning on my arm. Now I'm states away from this girl, and I had 13 slashes show up on my arm.
Oh, wow.
I mean, she started speaking in a low-toned voice to me, like a man saying, "She's mine, Sean." And I had about a crucifix about 6 inches tall, and I put the crucifix right up to the phone without her seeing me, and she hissed at me.
Wow.
I've had so much stuff happen with this case that it's movie-worthy. It's really nuts, but I think it's really important to get the story out there. She'd actually messed around with witchcraft and dripped blood on a pentagram when she was younger, and and she had an occult symbol show up on her pregnant belly that we found out it meant some sort of infertility. Like it was after the baby. And just so much stuff happened. Like so much. I like, for instance, like one time her and her friend in the car, and I could just hear these pelts hitting the car. Her friend has her phone because she's driving, and her friend is screaming bloody murder as I'm just hearing like all this shit. What is going on? I'm like, yeah, what is going on? Because you have to understand, nobody wanted to touch this case with a 10-foot pole, because if something happened to the baby, then they would get it. But it was before I started working with Ralph, and I felt emotionally involved to try and help. She's calling me all the time. I didn't even know how to handle this shit, but I still tried to help her. But they told me that like black birds crows were hitting the car.
Oh
my
gosh.
Like, just all this crazy shit. Or like one time she like blacks out on the phone, and her 3-year-old, all of a sudden I hear him in the background and goes, "Look, mommy's floating." I mean, just lots of, there's so much. There's just so much.
Holy shit. That'd be crazy. I don't even know how to handle that. Like, Seriously,
Yeah.
I don't know how you. Oh my gosh. But that is another question though that we do have come up a lot from one of our listeners. He always asks about, what do you think about pregnant women investigating, and do you think that they have a chance of getting possessed or the baby getting possessed?
It's all on the table. Everything's, we take risks as investigators alone. I mean, going to these places, like, it doesn't matter if you're somewhat protected. I mean, I even get visited by dark entities, and if you don't know what you're doing, it's just a danger. You got to be really careful. I don't judge anyone. Everyone's got different methods in the paranormal community. They have their own ways of doing it. It's almost as if like there's no right or wrong way. A lot of people like to say, but I mean, I do things the way that I believe how to keep myself protected. And I wouldn't recommend anybody doing that sort of thing. Because I mean, is it worth the risk? Is it worth the risk? I mean, ask yourself that. I mean, like, it's just like Ouija boards. I mean, like, I got oppressed by an evil spirit because someone coerced me to play with the Ouija board. And like, I would never play with it again. But, to me, Ouija boards are like spiritual Russian roulette. You can play with one time, 100 times, but that one time could be the worst mistake of your life. Right. I've read books on demonology and demonic hauntings, and like 95% of demonic hauntings start with a Ouija board. Oh, wow. So, but I base that on the way I do things. Do I think it's dangerous? Absolutely. Now, some people think that the spirit box and the Ouija board are the same thing. In my opinion, it's not. You're putting your hands on an item and allowing the spirit to move with you. It's inadvertently channeling, and I think that's probably the danger that lies in it, rather than just holding something and letting it communicate through it. That's why I also think that dowsing rods can be dangerous as well, again, because you're allowing something to move with you. It's like as if like you want the spirit to channel through you, and if the person doesn't know what they're doing, then danger could be at bay for their future.
That's a good point. That isn't actually, I mean, I never really put it in that perspective. I mean, I do see it, with, the spirit box and the Ouija board, with the different channeling. But I never really thought about it with the dowsing rods either. Like, I never thought about that. I mean, I haven't actually used a Ouija board since probably, like, elementary school. I really haven't
used it since high school.
I don't know if I would either.
Well, like I said, I don't judge anyone, and everyone would do things. I don't want to, to me, it's risky, and I don't want to be doing that sort of thing that's going to lead, and, from my experience and my teaching so far, I mean, like, I just, you got to be really careful, because there's no guarantee with what we're doing. I mean, most importantly, your intent has to be genuine, because if you have ulterior motives that are materialistically, backed up subconsciously, these spirits telepathically can sense that. They know exactly what you're doing. And if you try to use that for the sake of like getting attention for spirits and stuff like that, you're going to be a puppet, and you can actually put other people in danger. Actually, teams that could actually come to your house. So if someone doesn't have the willingness to do whatever it takes to get whatever in their house, and because they want attention, because these days it's like they want to have haunted real estate, and you have a famous haunted house, and they don't have the intent to get rid of it. And then like these evil spirits know what's going to end up happening, and they'll use these people as pawns, and then other people and teams that go into their house can actually be attacked because of that, because the evil spirit knows that they're going to conquer and win the situation.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Excuse me. All right, let's move along here with some more questions. Let's see here. If you come across a full body apparition, who would you want it to be, and what would you say?
So wait, say it again.
Let's see here. If you come across a full body apparition, who would you want it to be, and what would you say?
Full body apparition of somebody that I would like to meet. Well, I've been visited by an angel. I think I would like to meet someone of religious significance to guide me. I think you experience things in the paranormal like so many times. It's dark, it's creepy, it's eerie, it's evil. Those little small fragmented times when I have something, very positive happen to me. I cherish those, because I mean, Earth is a really messed up place. And, when you deal with the paranormal, it's mostly creepy. It's mostly souls that are tormented, human souls, that are going through some sort of, balance to what they were doing when they were alive, or evil spirits. So, I mean, I would love to have someone like an angel. I'd take any opportunity to have like an angel or someone high up that could actually broaden my spiritual awareness to actually help others further. And that's where I'm on the search for that. And I do pray for it, for like my spiritual abilities and stuff like that. I want to be able to just harness it and use it to the best ability that I can, because I believe that we all have our gifts for a reason, whatever it be involved with spirituality and paranormal or something totally different, whatever it may be. I want to, work at it and appreciate it, be humbled by it. And again, just get it to its top capacity.
Excuse me. Gosh. Okay, I'm ready for some different weather here because this is terrible. My voice wants to give out. Okay. So somebody asked in chat here, they want to know, what would you be doing if this wasn't your career?
Well, actually, before I got involved in the paranormal, my first passion I've been trying to pursue for many years is I'm a singer. I'm a musician.
Yes, I did check that out.
Yeah, and so I mean, I was pursuing that for many years. I actually do have a new EP coming out in the next month, and it's actually going to have the same cover as my second book. There's an EP that's kind of a mini soundtrack to my book, Shadow Chaser. So I'm trying to incorporate my two passions, which are paranormal and music and writing music. So that really would be the forefront of that if there was no paranormal, because it was originally anyway.
And where can people find your music?
If you go to Sean Austin's Music at YouTube, SeanAustins Music, I'm mixing up, starting to put paranormal content on there, including some of this Jennifer Dulo stuff with investigations, with a bunch of my songs, and I'll be posting some new songs as I get the final mixes when it comes out. But my music is on iTunes, it's on Amazon. My website, Sean D. Austin, SeanD as in David, AUSTIN.com. In the U.S. only, I'm mailing out signed books of my book, Shadow Chaser, if you want a signed CD. So, yeah.
Awesome.
All my social media is on my website. You can click any of them, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Okay, perfect. And I'll post it, for people who are listening. We'll post it on our social media as well, so that way you can look up everything about Sean, listen to his music. Yeah, I mean, I did listen to some the other day, and it's pretty damn good, honestly. You kind of have that, I don't know, I got that feel of like Goo Goo Dolls, back in that period, like.
Well, those are the bands that I'm most influenced by, like Goo Goo Dolls, Pearl Jam-ish.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, it's very good, so I recommend everybody check that out. Just had to put that in,
thank you.
It was pretty good. Let's see here. Excuse me. Lost my book. Another question here was, what's the weirdest thing that has happened to you on an investigation?
Gosh. You really want to know?
Yeah, we do.
It's kind of like, it's really strange and sexual.
It's okay. It's an explicit show.
All right. Yeah, because this is one of the weirdest one that pops in my head, because I just told this story about a week ago. So there's this place called the Shanley Hotel.
Yes.
And I've been there quite a few times. Love the place. The owner, Kelly, she's so nice. The place is active all the time. It's such an interesting place. They have a bordello where like prostitutes, used to be all the time, this and that. And these prostitutes have followed me home before. And just one of these circumstances before, it was like a week or two after I came back from the place, and I'm in my bed, and I smelled a woman's parts.
Oh my God.
In bed, out of nowhere. And I'm just like, are you kidding me right now? So I recorded an EVP, and I hear a woman go, lick my pussy.
Oh my gosh. That's great.
So you wanted weird, I gave you weird.
That's okay, because we have another question here, and I'll tell you one of the answers that we had from a guest that kind of goes with some of the stuff you're talking about.
Dear.
Okay, so the question is, this will tie into it. What's the one object you would not want to be haunted?
The one object I wouldn't want to be haunted by?
That you wouldn't want to be haunted. Like an object. Like a certain object, you wouldn't want it to be haunted.
An object that I wouldn't want to be haunted by, like a doll or something like that, you mean?
Anything. Anything goes.
It's a random question that we got going through chat.
Yeah, it's a poll to see what everybody says. They ask it in every episode.
God, I don't know, a toilet?
That's a good answer.
I think
I feel like
close to
this is
one of
like-
the number ones.
Yeah.
You know, that would actually be a really entertaining game show, a paranormal version of Family Feud.
Yeah. That would be great.
Survey says?
Okay, so here's this answer. This is from Michelle. I always say her last name wrong. Belanger, or Belanger, or however you say it. One of her answers was a butt plug.
I knew it was going straight for the gutter.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh. Okay. No, it had me cracking up. Like, I can't get over that. And then you getting that EVP. I'm going to have it stuck in my head all night now. Okay. Back to the questions here, because we have quite a few. Like, everybody's pretty vocal tonight in chat, so thank you for that. In today's Psychic Mediums, who is the closest to Ed and Lorraine Warren? I think I'm reading that right.
The closest psychic medium to Lorraine Warren? Well, I feel like they were like their own animals, really. Mm-hmm. They were very unique. I mean, you know, there's people who are out there that are mediums. I mean, that do that sort of thing. I don't know, actually. There's no one like a couple out there I can think of that's like them. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think they were a breed of their own, basically.
I honestly do, too. I haven't really seen anybody close to what they did yet. There could be somebody out there that, you know, is quiet about it, but, you know, everything I've seen so far, I haven't seen anybody like them yet. But that's my
I agree.
Awesome. My goodness, we do have a lot of... Excuse me. How do you feel about celebrities going on investigations, and who would you like to go with? You.
How do I feel about? I mean, you know, I think it's great. I mean, if celebrities come out and they're willing to talk about their ghost stories, it's amazing, because then people respect people who are respected in public like that, and people will be more open to come out with their own stories. I have to think about that one. I would love to, actually, no question. I would love to investigate Somewhere Haunted with Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, because he believes in ghosts too.
Yeah,
like
yeah. I watched actually like a documentary on them when he was coming up with the idea and stuff for like Ghostbusters, and it was pretty damn interesting, actually.
Yeah.
I never really thought, you know, I thought it was just something that came up, but no, he actually had beliefs in it, and it was pretty awesome. So yeah, I think that'd be a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see here. I have to read this one here because this one's a little different. Let's see. Okay, with directors that make horror movies like Rob Zombie, do you think they could handle real-life paranormal stuff?
You got a lot of unique questions.
I know, we have some different ones tonight, so that's why I was like, man.
Well, I would think that horror directors would be more apt to, you know, being ready for that sort of thing. It's kind of like me, because I loved horror movies as a kid. So, I mean, if that was confirming something for them, I'm sure that would just broaden their spectrum of like, wow, there's really some truly real scary shit out there. I remember Ralph telling me stories about when he was playing real videos of exorcisms to the director of his movie, Delivers from Evil, like Scott Derrickson and even Eric Bana, and they were scared shitless, allegedly. So it's interesting, when they end up doing movies about, based on true stories and true people. And I look at all the stories that happened with the Conjuring movie. I think I believe that, what's her name? Who played Lorraine Warren? You know what I'm talking about?
Gosh, I know who you're talking about because she's also in.
I'm blanking out. Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, the night she read the script, I think the next night or something, she woke up on her laptop. There's 3 scratch marks on it. Like, I kind of find that so unique and interesting when like people in like Hollywood, like they involve with these movies that have like big cases and they start having weird shit happen around the set and stuff like that. Even like the movie The Exorcist, there were a lot of strange things that happened. 9 people ended up dying. There's a big fire and like, a lot of creepy stuff that happened. Look at the Poltergeist movie. I mean, the entire, all of the kids died tragically in strange ways.
Yes. Freaky. Yeah.
I think there's a movie coming. There's actually a documentary coming out on Shudder that is all about cursed movies.
Oh,
and I think
wow.
Poltergeist.
That would be cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was absolutely weird how like they all just died like that. Really strange and freaky.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me. Alright, let's see here. Moving on here. What are your views on shadow people?
Well, I actually just caught my first shadow person on video. I don't know if you saw on my social media. It was during the day while I was at this old, abandoned, haunted mental asylum, Letchworth Village. And it was during the day. We were there for 30 minutes in this side dormitory, and a full-on shadow figure showed itself. It's on my Instagram. If you want to check it out, it's Sean D. Austin. It's insane. I never thought I'd be catching something like that during the day. It forms into a shadow and then turns and then goes into the opposite direction. I have witnessed shadow figures. They've come to me in my bedroom many times. I've even saw a shadow with horns. I wrote about it in my book. That was really creepy, and the message it had for me. More of that story in the book, why it did that for me. Yeah, I mean, typically shadows are not usually good spirits. But obviously, I mean, we can only speculate, but typically I would say they're usually not positive, good spirits. There's some sort of negative connotation that's associated with them.
I never thought of that. So,
I mean, I'm able to see balls of light around people, and they're like different colors. And my experience, even when it's just a ball of energy, like a spirit energy, if it's dark and black color or like a dark brown or like red, it's usually like angry or evil.
I'll have to remember that then.
Because there's different balls of energy that will, manifest, and like, so blue would be angelic, purple could be like a spirit guide. There's colors that like represent like kind of good things, and the other ones would be, could be more of the dark, creepy ones.
Right. Yeah, the one that I saw at Villisca, it was our very first investigation. It was kind of like a yellow in color. Like it was yellow.
Interesting, yeah.
I don't know what
I'm not sure about I don't know about all the different colors.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones I've experienced when they've been around, that's why I've associated with them, with those.
I'll have to look into that because, I mean, I really didn't think about the different colors in that aspect, and it just got me thinking when I saw that one yellow ball of light come rushing at me. So I'll have to look into that. But yeah, that's awesome. Let's see here. All right. Another question here. We got a couple more before we start wrapping things up. But if you could investigate anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Well, interesting enough, I'm writing my second book, and I've had personal paranormal experiences having to do with the Amityville Horror House. And I think that would be my number one house where I would want to investigate, because now not only is it such a fascinating, infamous story and case when it comes to the paranormal, I have personal stakes involved with it, and I would love to just stay in that house for one night and just see what would happen. It'd be so fascinating to me. But I mean, yeah, I would say that's my number one right now.
That's an awesome choice.
Well, that answers the
Yeah, I know, because
question.
because that leads up into the other question that we had here. Somebody asked if you thought that Amityville was haunted or if it was a hoax.
It's no question haunted. The shit has followed me home. I've been by the house. I did sessions by the house in the car. I went to the grave of the DeFeo family. I prayed for this little boy that I believe that his soul was still there. And I know it wasn't a demonic spirit because the little kid was asking me to pray. I prayed for this kid, and then I started to have shit follow me home. I was waking up 3:15 in the morning and seeing a black mist go through my ceiling. And I looked at the time, it was 3:15. Bunch of visions having to do with the house. I had flies swarming around me out of nowhere, live on scope, and it said Amityville and growling. I mean, I had all these weird things happen having to do with the house, and it's still happening on and off to this day. It's really insane. Yeah, I mean, for me not to even be inside that house and the shit that actually followed me, I'd have to say it's probably the most evil that I've ever felt out of all the stuff that I've been up against, because it's come at me in my bed and actually made me have the feeling of, as if like, wow, I should really back off this. This seems really like over my head. But I know that was a feeling it was probably trying to project, make me have to make me walk away from what I was doing to write this story of my experiences and what took place. But I found out so many creepy other unsettling things, such as when I posted that I was writing a story about my experiences, some gentleman wrote me and said that he was researching the case for 15 years, and he started corresponding with a gentleman that bought the negatives of the DeFeo family crime scene from an auction. He took these negatives home to his house, and then him himself started waking up at 3:15 in the morning having demonic type activity. He decided to show these digital copies to this guy I'm talking to, and then he started waking up 3:15 in the morning having demonic activity. He stopped talking to the guy. It stopped, and then he just found out last year the guy who bought the original negatives to the crime scene, he hung himself. And then he was going to write something for my book myself. And then he said he started writing it and then started having weird things happen. And I've been having weird things happen on and off too. So, I mean, he's frightened, and I'm still going to write about what he told me and leave it open to suggestion because I don't have any documentation to back it up. But I do believe that since what I've experienced, that other people have experienced this too. I have another girl that was inside the house in 2010. Her aunt was a realtor. She felt nauseous, ran out of the house, and that night she was in her car, got into a car accident. I believe it went down a hill. Guess what time? 3:15 in the morning.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much. There's so many weird circumstances. I believe George Lutz's spirit has been following me around. I have evidence of it as well on video. I have it on video, actually. I felt psychically, I saw his face. I was actually filming the show GhostLoop. We were in Houston in one of our cases, and I was, our hotel was seen to be haunted. I did a spirit box session on Periscope, and I'm like, George, are you here? And it says Lutz. I'm like, why are you following me? And it says the chapter. And then all of a sudden his voice says, Amityville took my soul.
Oh, wow.
Clear as day through the spirit box. Yeah, I've had so much shit happen with the Amityville house. So, yeah, for me not even going inside the house and the amount of shit that's happened to me is absolutely unfreaking real. And I believe that that whole street has energy. You feel it, the panic when you pull onto the street. It is there. There's something truly freaking evil that is lingering there. Let me tell you. So, yeah, no question.
Can you imagine what kind of stuff you'd actually get if you set foot in that house?
Oh, I know.
It'd be off the charts nuts.
Oh, yeah, dude. Just to have one day and night sleepover, just investigate the entire night.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, there's even an article for another realtor that was inside the house. This guy actually showed me, who was researching the case, who was frightened to write more about my story. He showed it to me. There's an article. Like, the guy was in the house. He felt like he was on top of the second floor of the house and felt this eerie feeling, felt uncomfortable. And he was in the basement. This cold brush of air came out of nowhere, and he just felt like someone was watching him. And he ran out of the house, and there were reporters outside, and he didn't want to even speak to them. And this was in 2010 as well. At the same time, this other girl was in there. So, I mean, there's a family living in there now, but they're either in denial or just not telling anybody. There's shit there. There's no question. Some people I do believe are energy killers, and they'll push off activity to some degree, but that thing is dormant. It's still there. There's still energy circulating around that property and not on that street. No question.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that would be nuts. You're gonna have to go live for that if you get there.
Oh my God. Yeah, of course I would.
Because that would be absolutely crazy to watch. Like,
Definitely would watch it.
I wouldn't go to bed because I'd be so drawn to watch it. Like, especially around 3:15. You know?
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yep. Yeah. It's such a fascinating case, man. They're all laying in their bed face down, and nobody heard the gunshots. Just ran for their lives. I mean, like, the only thing they heard in the neighborhood was the dog barking, and nothing makes sense.
No.
And because they buried the Native Americans in the bottom of that house on the property, and the mentally ill and thought to be demonically possessed, all face down. It seems like there's some sort of mockery to the connection that took place with the Native Americans, and I believe the demonic caused some sort of mass-induced sleep paralysis and muted that gunshot every time he shot it.
That's a good one. That's a good theory there. Gosh, dang. Yeah, that's nuts. I never looked at it in the perspective, but that's definitely something. When you do it, you're going to have to go live for that. Before we start to wrap things up, do you have any like events or anything coming up that people should know about?
Sure. I'm doing an event in end of April in Pennsylvania. It's sold out. I just announced it yesterday. We're doing my buddy Eric Vitale, who's on GhostLoop with me, and myself. We're doing an event at this amazing over 100-year-old hotel in Balsam, North Carolina. It's got like 50 rooms, and the activity there is supposed to be like insane. Doors open up and closing, disembodied voices, black masses, people being touched in their bed, and all sorts of crazy stuff. We're doing an event there the last weekend of March, Friday and Saturday. So if anyone's interested in that, you can go to my website, SeanDAustin.com, about tickets and more information about the hotel. I'm really excited because this is some gorgeous hotel, really old, and it's got gorgeous mountain views and a place that I've never even heard about. Someone who actually watches my Periscopes informed me of the place. So, I mean, it happened just by random. So I'm excited to head down there with my buddy Eric and, do a great event and investigate with some people.
So everybody, make sure you check it out. Like I said, I'll post your information on our social media as well so people can find you and all the events that you're going to be doing. Real quick here, I'm just going to give shout outs to everybody who was in chat. We had Shay, we had Darren, we had Christopher, we had Nico, we had Moon, we had Matt, we had Lewis, we had Mama Deb, we had Deb. Sorry, there's a lot. I think I got everybody. Sorry if I'm missing anybody. Yeah, I did say Matt, I did say Darren. Anyways, thank you as always for everybody who participated in chat tonight. Thank you for everybody who was not in chat but listening. We appreciate each and every one of you. Real quick here, I want to give an update on our last guest here, Jim Beck, who was on. They are raising money for a new roof for Sumner School, which is a new upcoming place to investigate for the paranormal in Sumner, Iowa. Awesome place. I've seen a lot of things that come out of there. Crazy. But they are $600 away from their $5,000 that they're trying to get. They extended the date to
March 8th.
To March 8th. So they are literally $600 away. So please go check that out and help them out so we can preserve a little piece of history in Iowa here. And also Jim said that he will shave his beard, which he's had that beard since like 1994. So let's see him shave it.
He will shave it at Sumner School on Facebook.
Yes, he's going to shave it at the school on Facebook. And then I think maybe in private he'll let his wife wax his chest. That's another thing because she wanted to do that. So had to throw that in there. So everybody check that out. I want to thank Sean for being on tonight. Thank you. Awesome show. Keep up the good work. I'll continue to watch your Periscopes on that, Jennifer. See what you come up with on that. And again, thank you everybody. Next week's guest is Kelly McCarville. So stay tuned for that.
Thank you for listening to REP Paranormal and Friends. Be sure to check out Kim and Allison on Facebook at REP Paranormal Busters.
Well, thank you, guys.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me stop this here real quick. Thank you for being on